So welcome to the ADOxx webinar, Introduction to ADOxx. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Modeltype, and I'm a member of the ADOxx.org team. And all microphones are muted, you only can hear me. And thus, if you have questions regarding the content of the webinar, you can just type them into the chat window. So this is the webinar agenda. I basically will go step by step. I will show you how to create model types, modeling classes, and so on. So at the end, we will have a kind of a simple modeling language. And at the end, there's going to be a summary and also some time for questions and answers. So let us start with an example of a simple modeling language. So you can see here that we have a model type, and in order to get a new model type, you just go to New and Example Model. So the name of the model type is Example Model, and here we have two concrete classes, which is class A and class B, and we have one relation class called A to B. So we can model what I already did. You can see a simple, let's say simple model, and we have an object of class A, an object of the relation class A to B, and an object of class B. For example, if we double click on the object of class A, we can see that this object has a notebook. And in this notebook, you can store all the attributes of a class or object and the values. And you can also define different chapters to have a better overview of all the attributes. For example, here we have the chapter description with the attribute name. And we can also switch to the chapter notes, which holds the attribute short command. So this is a simple modeling language, and I will show you now how we have to proceed to create this model type and this classes in order to be able to create this model. So in the first step, we go to the ADOxx development toolkit, because all developments in ADOxx is done in the development toolkit. And in order to create, in the first step, to create a model type, we need to go to the library. So here we say library management. And here we select the settings. So we work with the experimentation library. And in order to define the model type, we click on the experimentation library and here open it, and on dynamic experimentation library, and go to the menu point library attributes. And here we switch to add-ons. And in the MODI window or library attributes, you can define a model type, more model types if you want. And in order to do this, we need a keyword. First, the model type keyword, and in the quotes we define the name of the model type, which we said is, I think, was example model exactly. So we write example model, and now we have defined a new model type. So in order to save it, you click to apply, and you say, yes, I want to save it. And now if you want to see the changes, we have to go to the modeling toolkit, because the development toolkit is for development, and the modeling toolkit is for visualization of the changes, kind of. And so we go to the modeling toolkit, and in order to see the changes, we have to restart it. So here you have a menu entry scripts, and you can reset the modeling toolkit. So, but this is a functionality which is not built in ADOxx by default, but you can see instruction of how to use this functionality in the tutorial packages, and specifically in the method engineering tutorial package. So if you download this package, you will find an instruction on how to build in this reset functionality to ADOxx. So I will show you how it works. I just go back to modeling toolkit, say scripts, and then I restart the modeling toolkit. And now I should be able to, yes, to have an example model type. But okay, we have a new model type, but you can see this is empty, so there are no classes. So in the next step, we need to create the classes A and B, which we saw on the beginning of the webinar. So in order to do this, we switch back to the development toolkit, because as I already said a few times, that in order to develop something in ADOxx, you need to use the development toolkit. And I will show you again how to proceed. So in order to change something in the library, you go to the library management, then you select the library settings. Here you can see this, and select the library you want to work on. And in order to create new classes, we can see here the class hierarchy menu. So we click on it, and here we have the superclass of all classes, the deconstruct, which is by default in ADOxx. So we open it and see all the other classes which are by default built in ADOxx. And now we want to create our own class. So we click on deconstruct, because we want to have deconstruct as a superclass, and say we want to create a new. So we go to the menu point new class, and we name this class. I think we said the first class is class A, so we name it class A, and click on OK. And now we want to have another class called class B. So we again do the same steps. We click on the superclass, which is deconstruct, and we say, okay, we want to have a new class. So we say new class, and say let's name the class B. Okay. And now we want to have a relation class which connects the class A and B. So for that, we can close this deconstruct superclass and go to the relation classes folder and open it. And we click on relation classes folder and say we want to have new relation class. And we name this relation class, I think it was A to B. And we say we want to connect class A with class B. So we say we want to have it from class the A class, which you can see here, and to class is then the B class, which you can see here. So okay, and now you see we have the A to B relation class visible here. So we close and we save. And now this is an important step, because you want to make these classes visible in the modeling toolkit, and specifically in the model type. So in order to see or to be able to use the classes in a specific model type, we have to include these classes to a model type. And we already defined a new model type called example model, the step before. Now we want to include these classes A, B, and the relation class A to B to the model type. So in order to do this, we again select the dynamic experimentation library and go again to the library attributes. Then we switch to add-ons. And here we already have the example model type defined. And now we say we want to include those classes which we created before to this model type so that we can use them in this model type. So we say include class A. Then we say include, so the include is the keyword for including a class. Include class B. And we also want to have the relation class in this model type. So we say, so includes A to B. Okay, so we want to save it. So we click on apply. And yes, it should be saved. And we go back to the modeling toolkit. And now we see, okay, there are still no classes, but that's because we have to restart the modeling toolkit in order to see the changes. So I again use the script restart the modeling toolkit. And now, if we open this model type, we should see that there are the classes which we defined before. But okay, we see that there are there, but there is no graphical representation. So there is a class, but you cannot really see it if you model it. So in order to make it visible on the modeling area, we have to define a graphical representation for the classes. And in order to do this, there are a few possibilities. At first, you can go to the ADOxx GraphRep repository, which is on the ADOxx.org page in the developer community. And you can check example codes, kind of, and you can, for example, select this graphical representation and see what code is behind. And you can copy this code. And then I will show you next where you have to paste it in order to make it happen. And so the next step, I will show you how to add the graphical representation to the classes. So we go back to the development toolkit. And if you want to work or to edit classes, we need to go to the class hierarchy of the dynamic experimentation library. And here we look for the class A at first. And if you open it, so you can click the plus, or you can also double click on it. If you open it, you should see the attributes GraphRep. And here, the graphical representation code is pasted. So here the representation is defined. And if I open it, you can see here the dialog box. For the ease, you can open it, and here you paste the code. So I already prepared the code for the 3 classes, and I have it here. So these are just examples, but as I said on the beginning, you can also either write your own code by using the documentation and going to the graphical notation language, where all the language is explained. Or you can just go to the GraphRep repository and say, okay, I want to have a similar class to this, for example, and make small changes and adapt the code, and then you have this representation. But I will continue with the class A, and I copy the code I prepared before the webinar. So here we have GraphRep of class A. I just copy this code and I just paste it. And here you can check by clicking on paint, and now you see it's just a blue circle. So this code is transferred to the do circle. And I click on apply and close this. And now I want to do the same for the class B. So I want to add graphical representation to class B. So in order to do this, I just open class B. And again, we have the special attribute GraphRep. And I click on it. For ease, I open the dialog box. And here I also paste my prepared code for the class B. So I just copy it. And I just paste it here. If I click on paint, you can see that this is just a blue triangle. And I click on apply, close this, and the last class is the relation class. So we also want to have a graphical representation for the relation class A to B. So we can close the deconstruct superclass and go to relation classes. And the relation class also have a GraphRep attribute. So in order to edit the graphical representation, we have to open it. And I again use the dialog box. And you have to see that there's a default line, but you also can change the code of the relation class. And again, I already prepared the code, and I will just copy paste it. So copy and paste. Now, if I click on paint, you will see that there's a change. Now we have a blue line with an arrow. Okay, I click on apply, close this, and I save. And now I want to see the changes in the modeling toolkit. So we go back to the modeling toolkit. We see that now there's still nothing here, but as I said a few times, we have to restart the modeling toolkit to see the changes. So I can restart the modeling toolkit. And I open the model group and go to my example model. Now you can see, or let's say now you can see the classes. Now there's a graphical representation for the classes, and they are made visible. So now you can model with the classes and using the classes, and you can see them. So I can make a simple model and connect those classes. And next is that we want to create attributes for the classes, because now if you open the notebook of the class A, of the object A, we see that there is just one attribute with one chapter. So in the next step, we just want to add a new attribute and also a new chapter, or define a new chapter. So we close this, and in order to develop something in the library, we go to the development toolkit. We have the library management already opened. And now we want to add attributes to the classes. And because we want to edit classes, we go to the class hierarchy. And we open the superclass deconstruct. And we first want to, or we just want to add an attribute to the class A. So we double click on class A, or we can also open it by clicking on the plus, so it doesn't matter. And we now say, okay, we want to have a new attribute for the class A. And we will name the attribute, let's say, short comment. And the type of the attributes, so you can see here you can have different types, from integer to expression to enumeration to program call and so on. But I would say that for the webinar we choose the short string. Okay, and now if you click OK, you can see that the new attribute is added to the class A. And now an important step is to, in order to make the attributes visible in the notebook of an object, we have to use the special attribute AttrRep. So the two special attributes are AttrRep and GraphRep. And now for the attributes, we need the AttrRep attribute. So we double click on it. And you can see that already a notebook with the keyword notebook is defined. And as we saw in the modeling toolkit, there's a chapter defined called description and one attribute called name. And now we want to add a new chapter, let's say called notes. And we want to have the new attribute which we created before to be in this new chapter. So what we can do is, in order to create a new or define a new chapter, we use the keyword chapter. Then in quotes we give the name and we said it should be notes. And now we want to add or to make visible this new attribute short comment within the chapter notes. So we say AttrR, which is the keyword for adding attributes to the notebook, and the name of the attribute which we created was short comment. So now we close, again close and save this. And in order to see the changes, we have to go back to the modeling toolkit and also restart it. So now we'll open the models group again, and now if I click on the object of class A, yes, we should see a new chapter called notes is here, and within this chapter there should be a new attribute, yes, short comment. So now we can type in this is the short comment, and yes, so, and furthermore you can find more information regarding these parts which I presented today in the documentation section, which is, in order to learn ADOxx, is very important. All the informations are here. So starting at the modeling language implementation, mechanisms, algorithms, which we didn't cover, but we cover the modeling language implementation part, so the first part of this documentation. So you can also take a look on the GraphRep language, which I already showed, I think. Here also you can take a look on the attribute notation language. So if you want to have a look, just go to the documentation. Yes, and to summarize what we did today. So we basically created a very simple modeling language with two classes and one relation class. And we started, which we basically start with, is creating a modeling type. So we started creating our own modeling type, which we named example model. And then we said we need classes to model within this model type. So we created the class A and the class B and the relation class A to B. And now you can use these classes to make your own models. Of course, you can add another classes. This is also, as I said, this is just a simple, very simple example in order to show you which steps you basically need to create those most important components. And further, I also showed you how you can create and define new attributes, new chapters within a notebook, so that you can store informations about the objects or add new informations. Okay, so now if there are any questions, please type them into the chat window and we'll try to answer them after the webinar. And furthermore, if you have questions after the webinar, please contact us under info@ADOxx.org. But you can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or join our LinkedIn group. Thank you for your attention.